Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a what are these called? A ZigZag Cascade card that I made. This is going to be a Father's Day card for my dad, and I haven't put all the pictures in, but I'm going to take pictures of each of his grandchildren and put on the stars. And so it stands up like that. Anyway, it's actually super easy to make, even though it doesn't look like it, and it folds pretty flat. This one's going to be tall because I got stuff sticking out of the top, but I'm going to hand deliver it, so it's okay. But let me show you how it's made. So if you have the Crafter's Companion template library, it's in the Violet template library. It's page 24, and you can use the template. If you don't have that, it's actually not hard to make without the template, and I'll show you how. So you need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 10.5 inches across. So I had an 8.5 by 11, and I just cut it a 1/2 inch off of 2 pieces. And so it's 10.5. And then you can make this whatever height you want. The template library makes this 6 inches, and then this 3. I decided to go 7, so this is 7 and 3.5, and that makes basically the same angle because you're going from 7, halfway. So you just take your ruler and mark on the 8.5 inch side at 7, and then at the other side at 3.5, and then cut down that line. And I just used my guillotine to cut. And you do it twice. So you got 2 of them. Then score it in thirds. So since this is 10.5, you score at 3.5 and at 7 on both of them. So 3.5 and 7. Now you're going to do them a little bit differently. Now each of the thirds, you're going to split in half, and you're going to cut one from the top to the middle and one from the bottom to the middle. So you're going to take your ruler, and you're going to find the center of this. So if this is 3.5, you're going to come in 1 3/4 inches, and you're going to measure at that 1 3/4 inch. So mine is about just shy of 6.5. So I'm going to cut from the top down 3 1/4 on that first cut, and from the bottom up 3 1/4. And then on the next one, you're going to come in another 1 3/4. And then you're going to measure this, and this is about 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut one from the top down at 2 and about, well, let's see, 2.5, 2 3/4, and then from the bottom up 2 3/4. And same on this other third. So you're going to measure 1 3/4 over, and then at that 1 3/4 mark, it's about 4 1/4. So you're going to come down 2 1/8 and come up 2 1/8. And I just drew pencil lines and then cut with my scissors. You could use a paper trimmer if you want. And then that's going to allow this to go together. And you're going to fold them so that they zigzag, just like that. Okay? And give them a reasonable burnish. Now, you can mat and layer them before you put it together, and it's probably the easiest to do it that way. Although, and I'll show you how to mat and layer. So if you use a template library, it has mats and layers that you can use. But since I didn't use the template library, it's a different size, I just measured. So across this, that's 1 3/4, because remember we cut there. And these are going to go together like this. Okay. They're going to slide in like that. So the mat that I need is 1 3/4. So I cut the paper to just shy of 1 3/4 into my paper into 1 3/4, or actually about 1.5 or just over 1.5 inch strips. And then the way that I did it to get the angle right is I cut it, and I'll show you on, let's see, let me find one. Okay, so I cut it into an approximate height. So I measured, from here to there, because this piece is going to go there. I measured from there to there, and I cut my 1/4 inch shy. And then I put the paper on, and I set it just kind of up against there, and I bent it over the top, and then I cut along that line, and that gives you a perfect line. Now, once you have one of the angles, all the angles are exactly the same. So then to do the other side, I took a strip and I just flipped it over and cut. Okay? And so you're going to mat. It's kind of hard. If you haven't done one, you might want to put it together before you mat and layer the first one so that you can figure out where you're matting and layering, because it's going to go together. So you're going to have, you know, a mat layer here, and then there's going to be one on the inside, then there's going to be one here, and then this is going to be on the inside, and then there's going to be one here, and this is, so you'll see what I mean in a minute. But so it's a little bit hard to do, to kind of grasp the concept. So I'm going to go ahead and put it together, and then I'll mat and layer, and then that'll show you how. So you're going to slide these in, and oops, you got to bend them the other way. So they have to be like this, right? Scored and burnished that way so that they can go together. And then you're going to put the slits one over the top. And you have to do them all at the same time, or you can't, it won't slide down. So kind of get one, the back one started, and then get the middle one started, but don't put it all the way down. Just get it enough, and then get the front one on there. Okay, and then you can sort of work them down. And they should slide all the way down so that the bottoms of the card is flush together. And if they don't actually aren't even at the bottom, that means you haven't cut the slits deep enough. And let's see if I did. Yep, I did. Okay. And if you cut it a little bit too far, it's not going to matter. So, and then I don't like the looks of that. So what I did is I cut just a piece of plain white cardstock that's 3.5 inches wide, and I'm just going to glue that on, like, I'm going to glue it on so that it's even with the top right here. And then I'm just going to cut those points off because I don't like the looks of that. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could glue it up here and then mat over the top of it. And maybe that's what I will do. And then you just put your matte layers over the top. It'll give you a little bit of a ridge, but I don't think it's going to matter because I'm going to have flowers on it anyway. So, and that just gives you a nice square. And then I do the same on the front. I just don't like the looks of the angles in the back. So, and this piece of card actually is too short. So let me get a piece that's going to fit. I thought I had that cut right, but obviously not. And then we're just going to put some glue. Don't glue over that fold. Just kind of put the glue on the two pieces. Okay. And then just line it up. And I want this top to be even. And it has a tendency to twist because it's, you know, so you want to kind of, and that way also when I put the back on, it kind of holds it from twisting a little bit. And so I like that. And then I do the same for the front. I put a piece of card that's 3.5 by 4 1/4. And it'll go across that front, and it just kind of gives you a nice clean look if you don't mind that. But I don't like that it kind of flaps a little bit. So, and then I cut a little matte layer. So I'm going to go ahead and matte layer that first, and then I'll put that front piece on. And these are optional. You don't have to do, in fact, the template library does not put the piece on the front and the back. I do like it, so that way I think it looks more polished and finished. And it does keep it from a little straighter, I think. Once you get it on there, just press it down. And it gives you a nice flat surface to put a sentiment on. And so, but it still gives you that zigzag look. I think it just makes it look a little straighter. Okay, so now I've got my matte layers for the back. And I don't think I cut these to the right height, no. So I'm going to glue these on, and then, or I'm going to trim them down. So again, you can kind of get it lined up and then just bend it over. And then I'm going to cut right underneath that. And then the other one should be exactly the same. So we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to line that up and cut. Okay. And then those will go on my back. They're 7 inches by just over 1.5. All of the matte layers are just over 1.5. They're just different heights. And I found it easiest with the matte layers, to actually get the card together and then kind of figure out what the matte layers are, because as you can see, some of them go inside, and if these aren't long enough, it doesn't really matter because you're never going to see the bottom of it. And it's really hard, if you haven't made one before, it's really hard to figure out which is the inside and which is the outside to matte until you get it put together. So it is a little bit easier to do it once it's together. Okay, so there's my back. Now see, the next one is inside. So where's my I did cut some of these. Okay, so that one is cut for that. And this paper is from my special papers box, but I'm pretty sure it's from the Daisy collection. But I couldn't find my Crafter's Companion Daisy collection paper pad. I don't know why. I'm sure I have one, but I don't know where it is. But I knew I had my special papers box, and it had Daisy collection papers in it. So that worked. Okay. And then I've got these for the cut for this side. And all of these angles are exactly the same. So once you cut one, you can use that one to cut all of the angles. It's just different. They're just different heights. Okay. I guess you don't have to do the centers, the insides, but I liked the looks of doing the inside too. So and again, because these are in the inside, they're not going to show. So you don't really have to worry about them being long enough. That you can make them short if you are kind of running short of paper, or you don't want to use all of your, if you're, you know, kind of trying to not use too much of your paper pad. You can use less of it by making them shorter. But these go together. This card actually goes together a lot faster than you'd think that it would. Okay, now I did have two that I haven't cut, and I'll show you how I did it. So basically, slide it in place. So that's where I want it. And then I just bent it over the cardstock, just like that. Then when you pull it out, you can cut just below that line. Oops. And it should give you a perfect layer. So let's try it before. Measure twice, cut once. Isn't that the same? So see, it's a perfect angle. So now to make sure I get it right on the other side, I'm going to flip it, but make sure you flip it over, because if you cut it this way, you're going to get the slant the wrong side. So we're going to cut it there and there. And the reason I didn't just line it up at the bottom is because this one had some daisies on it that I wanted to show on the top. So, okay. And my last two matte layers. I'm going to go in. There. And there. Now it's all matted and layered. You could do the backs if you want, but there's not really any reason. The other reason I like to put that piece on the back is it gives you one solid piece to write your message on the back instead of having this split in the middle. Now I'm going to decorate mine with daisies from the Daisy collection. These are the Delightful Daisy dies. I just cut a bunch of them and I double layered them. So I cut these out of white cardstock, which is just like a bunch of my white offcuts that from card bases. So I have lots of white card, and I just cut lots of these. And then I kind of inked each of the petals with a little bit of lemon tonic, just very lightly. And then I inked the centers with Honey Pot. And then I took one on top of the other one, kind of rotated a little bit. And then I've got foliage out of just some green, a couple of different colors of green. And again, these are just like my, spare green card. And I'm just going to kind of layer some of these daisies on with some foliage and go from that. That looks good. I think I'm not going to use those. All right. And then I still have room down here for my sentiment, and I have room on the back for a message. So there's my card. Looks like that. Stands up. And it still folds flat. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.